Welcome to On the Way to School, your 6-minute daily boost for educators and administrators. I'm Christopher S. Dennis, and today, let's elevate our journey together. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well on this Monday on the way to school. I think it is a wonderful time to break out all the decorations and get ready to wrap this year up. I've been using this resource called the Big Ass Calendar. And it's basically just a year at a glance. That's probably a quarter of your wall. And you can kind of make plans and look ahead in ways that are very intentional and planful. I did it last year or this current year, and it actually was really helpful to kind of see where the milestones are and where things are kind of on my list of just being productive and having an amazing year. So I've got that again. So if you want to chat about that, we could have a long-term planning conversation. Maybe we'll do a video on that or a podcast on that. But yeah, so today I wanted to follow up with our conversation on community cultural wealth, which uses 6 forms of capital as an asset perspective for marginalized communities. So this past Friday, we talked about aspirational capital and linguistic capital. So today we're going to talk about familial capital and social capital. Excuse me. So, when we think of familial capital, well, first, let me have you do some thinking. What do you think we mean when we say familial capital? All right. So we know that before, aspirational capital talked about the hopes and dreams despite present barriers. Linguistic capital talked about the values of speaking other language and dialect. So what does familial capital refer to? What do you think? I'll give you 3 seconds. Okay. Well, it talks about, things such as having a strong family support system that offers guidance, encouragement, and wisdom, but also passes down this kind of generational understanding and knowing and problem solving. And thus, the individual is able to leverage different cultural traditions, practices learned within the family to navigate different situations. So, for example, I just used to hang out with my dad all the time. Whatever he was doing, I was doing. I don't know if I wanted to or he just told me to come on. So everything from starting businesses to, fixing cars, selling used cars, all these little things that I picked up from him were these just ways of being, between father and son. So last week, our microwave blew out, and doing the research, my wife did some research. It was like a fuse inside the microwave. And, I knew that I just needed to go in there, change the fuse. It was a line fuse and it'll be back working. But my wife texted the boys and said, "Hey, get down here. Your dad's fixing the microwave. You need to pay attention." Really trying to she really basically was able to articulate the through line of, hey, your dad's doing a thing, a skill that you should observe in case you need the skill. And those skills were things that I observed from my father, right? So this familial capital is like a transference of skills that will just be in your toolkit for use when you need to leverage them and utilize them. So, those are the types of things that we refer to when we're talking about familial capital. And so for people from marginalized backgrounds, when you're in this dominant culture, the things that you bring from your family and your cultural experiences are actually assets when you learn how to leverage them. It's the way you host a meeting. It's the way you create events. It's the way you solve problems based on the values and traditions that have made you who you are. So familial capital is really special in that regard. And I think it's something that we should definitely tap into as individuals, as leaders, and because you also get to be a window into somebody else's life, right? Somebody can see see what you're doing and be able to see the value in it, but it's also a mirror for some folks. And we'll do another one really quickly. The next one is social capital. And do you all know what social capital is? I'm doing this like Blue's Clues. Essentially, it's the social networks and relationships within them. So I initially thought social capital was like the biggest of the 6 forms of capital, but I don't necessarily think so anymore. But social capital is really, hey, I'm well connected. I know enough people. They know me in return. They know that I have a particular skill set, and I can call on them within my network for their resources to be put to good use in mutual ways. So that type of social capital is also underutilized when thinking about people from marginalized backgrounds, because there's a whole different subset of people that are out there. So, for example, if you're fundraising and you're usually just going to the old white, wealthy men, and you know how to connect with them because they're a part of your network, you've groomed them for this conversation. There's a whole other portion of women of color who you have not tapped into. And if you don't have the social capital to go and connect with those relationships, you're not going to be able to be as effective. So you're going to need to figure out, well, who's got the social capital in those spaces that can also align with our mission to be supportive on that. So as leaders and educators, what can you do with familial and social capital? I think, one, being able to honor the traditions that you bring from home allows you to de-stress and not feel as isolated when you're able to kind of build off of that asset. Cherish those things, especially in your classroom or your office. What are the traditions that you have around this time of the year at home, and how can you bring them into the space? Because somebody may actually connect with you on that, and it may lead to a productive opportunity somewhere. Social capital, I think we all know that, but I think people are so afraid of the word networking these days that they avoid the engagement. So give yourself permission to know that you do have, a network of people that know, like, and trust you, and you do have those relationships. So it's all about connecting relationships. So anyway, a lot to throw at you here on a Monday, but hey, you can handle it, right? But hopefully everybody's doing well. I'll catch you tomorrow on the way to school. Thanks for joining me on the way to school. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep making a difference. I'm Christopher S. Dennis. See you tomorrow.